Hello, everybody. Welcome back to A Cult of Misfits. I'm Matt Owens. For those of you that are new to the podcast, welcome aboard. I like to talk about consciousness, the nature of reality, the Anunnaki, ancient civilizations, the inward journey, all the fun stuff. So if any of that interests you, feel free to check out previous episodes of my podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, etc. And if you're digging what I'm doing here, if you're enjoying my content, there's a couple ways you can give back. You can share the podcast with a fellow misfit, or if you're feeling generous, you can donate to the Cult of Misfits. Matt Owens 111 on Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal. So a huge thank you to all of you who have donated either financially or by sharing my content. I appreciate you all. You're amazing. And I will definitely put in a good word for you with the heavenly realm. Today, I want to talk about a few things. First of all, I want to play a little intuition game with you guys right off the bat. Then I want to talk about flat Earth, simulation theory, free will, the moon landing, kind of dive into that a bit. I want to talk about a new podcast that I discovered. And I want to talk about getting caught in these traps, these imbalances in our lives, these cycles and patterns of staying within our comfort zone, of addiction. And I want to wrap it up by talking about freaking out over all of the plastics and toxins and poisons in our food and water supplies. So it's going to be a good episode. First of all, let's just start off with a little intuition game. I love playing this game with my kids. I play it with myself. I believe that. Did he just say he plays with himself? Guys, listen up. I play the intuition game by myself as practice of honing my intuition skills. I think that we are intuitive beings, and that muscle atrophied for many of us, myself included, and I like to beef it up a little bit by playing these little intuition games. So I'll play one with you now. There is an animal that is in front of me right now. It is not Chi-Chi. It is an animal outside of my window. There's actually two of them, and they're staring at me right now. And so what we're going to do is I want you to guess, what species of animal am I looking at? We're going to have a moment of silence. I want the answer to come to you. Let it come to you. Shut off your mind. Open your heart. This is all just practice and fun. So we're going to have a little moment of silence. Let the answer come to you. And then I'll reveal the answer. Here we go. Okay, go with the first thing that came to you. The correct answer is Canadian goose. Did you say Canadian goose? If you did, congratulations. You are highly psychic. You're a powerful being. Thank you for connecting with me today. My hat's off to the Canadian geese that are staring at me. I'm not going to eat you guys. Just enjoy your life. Relax. Freaking Canadian geese. Anyway, let's talk about my walk today. What I was diving into a little bit was I was just sort of contemplating how I've sort of given up many of my beliefs, part of this stripping away, part of the consciousness expansion process, the dark night of the soul, the peeling away of the onion layers, getting to the core of who I truly am. And as many of you have, I'm sure, experienced, I went through a period of awakening where I started asking questions like, why do some people think the earth is flat? Let me look into that. Why do some people think the moon landing is fake? Let me peek into that a little bit and just see what they're up to. So cheers to my tinfoil hatters. It's not to say I was there and I'm not there anymore, but that's what I want to expand upon a little bit is I ask myself often these questions, these philosophical questions like, is the earth flat? Is it round? For many, that's preposterous, and I understand why you say that. That's because you haven't looked into it. That's the reason that you're saying that. I just think that things like this, things like, are we living in a simulation? Do we have free will? Yes or no? Was the moon landing faked? Yes or no? These types of things, right? And I start asking, like, does God exist? Are there multiple gods? Yes or no? Just these types of things. And as I mentioned in a previous episode, that I feel a little discombobulated because my whole life I had always attached to my beliefs. Like, this is the God that I believe in. This is what I believe happens in the afterlife. This is who I am. These are my thoughts and beliefs. End of story. And once I've stripped those away, I'm left with, well, I don't know what I'm left with. Like, this is all new territory for me. I've never been stripped bare like this before, where all of my beliefs and thoughts about the nature of reality itself are laid bare. And I'm just like, okay, now what? And so I continue to ask myself questions like the nature of free will. Do we have free will? Do we not have free will? And I don't know. And then I go to the next one. Like, is this a simulation? Is it not a simulation? I don't know. And it's turning into this very agnostic answer that I keep getting back of just like, yeah, well, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't lean one way or the other. And that's new territory for me. And I'm learning to find acceptance in all of this. That's what the key to this story is that I'm learning to just simply accept that I don't know everything, right? And I may not ever know everything. Perhaps that's not the point of this journey. And so a lot of it is acceptance. Are there aliens? Are there not aliens? And for me, I'm realizing that at the core, the foundation of all of this is what's happening is I'm going against the programming that I've been programmed with my whole life from the matrix, society, family, media, blah, 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 that tells me to latch on to something, right? Latch on to this group or that group or this philosophy or this religion or this, ideology or whatever, whatever, whatever. And so as a part of this deprogramming, it's quite difficult because I keep wanting to revert back to the old programming of like, okay, do I believe in a God? Yes or no? But that's very binary, right? And so it's about getting away from this binary nature, this binary way of thinking about things. And so I'm learning that it's more about acceptance, which I talk about often. It's very Buddhist, it's very Eastern. So do we have free will? Yes or no? I've gotten myself to a point of acceptance. If there is free will, great. That's easier to accept, but I accept it. There is maybe there's not free will. Can I get myself to a place where I'm okay with that and I accept that as my reality? And that was more difficult, but I have gotten myself to a place where it's like, yeah, I accept that. If God descended from the heavens right now and said, "Hey, listen, here's the scoop. There is no free will." That would not rock my world at this point. If you had told me this several years ago, that would have probably freaked me out. I wouldn't have known how to process that because I had a lot of attachments to how I thought everything was working around here. And once I've learned to let go of those and accept them, I'm just at this place of like, yeah, yeah, I suppose either way, I guess, right? Either side of the coin, I'm okay with. And it took a lot of practice to get myself there, right? And then once I started applying it to one thing, I could start applying it to another thing and another thing, and another thing in my life, in my world, in my reality of just acceptance. Am I okay with things not going my way? Ooh, that's rough. But can I work on that? Yes, of course I can. And I have been successfully. Gold star for me. It's an ongoing battle. It's an ongoing skills sharpening. And so I'm constantly having to remind myself to just accept what is. Just accept whatever comes down the pike, whatever's around the corner. I often talk about just going with the flow. That's what this is all about, is just accepting. Accepting what the government's doing. Well, that's hard. That's a toughie, right? Because oftentimes we can see what the government is doing, and it's quite alarming. Often, right? And so it's hard to get, I'll speak for myself. It was very difficult to get myself to a place where I could accept what was happening in the world around me. To live in the world, but not of the world. To detach myself from it is how I interpreted that. That's how I can live in the world, but not of the world, is to detach myself from it and to accept it for what it is, not to judge it. That's very Eastern, but that's also very Christian, right? Got a real Jesus vibe to it. Just accept it. Accept what is. Stop trying to change it. Stop trying to change people. When I first started this journey, this awakening, for me, it was in 2020. The pandemic really woke me up like a bucket of cold water while I was deep in REM sleep. It was like, okay, hi, I'm awake now. I see. And I I was convinced that I had taken the proverbial red pill. I was like, oh, I can see things for how they truly are. And I started seeing what Big Pharma was doing. Never saw that before. It's right in front of my face. How could I miss it? But I didn't see it. See what the government is doing, has been doing, is continuing to do. Seeing things from a different level, right? And for those of you that are with me, you get what I'm talking about here. And so I went through this phase where I saw a lot of documentaries, a lot of YouTube videos, right? Leading me down all these rabbit holes of the horrors of agriculture and the just meat production in the Western world, right? In America, just how filthy, these farms, and they're just disgusting. But like, I'm still eating meat, right? But I started freaking out at like all the poisons that are in our food and the toxins and the unregulated everything. And Mother Earth going to shit, and the tunnels and the child trafficking and the sex trafficking and the Epsteins and the just all the scary things, right? Deep state and maybe even we can talk about reptilians if you want to get a little nutty. Like just it was very overwhelming for me, and I had a fearful response, if I'm being honest with you. I was very scared. I started panicking because I was like, "Oh shit. I've never seen any of this stuff before and it's very 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 overwhelming for me and I'm kind of freaking out a bit." Right? I went into survivalist mode. I started buying bulk food for the apocalypse. Like I went all out. I started taking, lessons at the gun range. Like I'm bracing for an apocalypse here, folks. Full panic mode. And I couldn't see that at the time. And so I took it upon myself to tell everybody that would listen to me on social media, in real life. I have to warn everybody. I have to warn everybody what I can see now, that when I was asleep, I couldn't see it. And I got a lot of people that I perceive as being asleep around me. So I'm going to wake them up because I'm scared. And I want them to be scared with me. That's what's going on there. I want to alert them. I want to tell them because I want my loved ones to know what's truly going on. I want them to see the light. And so I took it upon myself and went on this massive campaign. I went and purchased a giant soapbox that I stood upon. Got myself a giant bullhorn, metaphorically, and I started telling the world about Bill Gates and secret agendas and the 1% of the 1% and Anunnaki, all the things, guys. I thought it was my mission on Earth to wake everyone up. But then one day, Spirit tapped me on the shoulder and reminded me that Spirit had never asked me to do this. God had never said, it is your mission to tell everyone about the toxins and plastics and fluoride and all the junk that's in our tap water. It's horrific. And I said, oh, I thought I was supposed to. And God said, no, 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 no. You're just scared. You're scared. And that's okay. It's a natural response. You've never seen this stuff before. It's all new. It's all like, oh, panic mode. I get it. But I never told you to plant seeds like that. Because what I was shown that I was doing was planting seeds of fear into other people. It wasn't seeds of enlightenment like I tricked myself into believing. I tricked myself because that's Hal. Hal is my ego. Hal is the voice in my head that's always trying to, lead me astray. The adversary, the Satan, the Satan, if you want. It all correlates. The adversary is trying to get me all riled up and keep me in a state of fear. And so the good Lord above showed me that I was planting seeds of fear in these people. I had listened to that voice in my head, Hal, telling me to plant these seeds of fear, and I did it willingly, dutifully. Like, yes, it feels good to get the word out, right? I'm a patriot. I'm a light worker. I'm a fill in the blank. And I felt like I was all of those things passionately. That is who I am now. I have seen the light. And in no way am I making fun of people who say that, use these terms, or going through the things I'm going through. It's not like I'm, on the mountaintop here wagging my finger. I'm just talking about my own journey, and I know that many of you can relate to it. And I'm letting you know what Spirit said to me because it might relate to your own life, perhaps. I came to realize I was planting these seeds of fear. And I started to realize that it wasn't my job, my duty to wake people up, that was a divine process, that it would unfold in divine timing, and you wake up when you wake up, right? Because when I started posting these things on my Instagram and my Facebook and all the things, you know, warning everybody about toxins and plastics and stuff, not once did I ever have anybody come to me and say, thank you so much for spreading this. Thank you so much. I didn't know about the toxic water that we're drinking out of our tap. I didn't know how bad McDonald's was for you. Thanks for showing me the light, Matt Owens. Nobody ever said that. Right? I just kept waiting for the day that all the stupid sheeple, all the unconscious idiots would come to me in flocks and droves. Thank you for showing us that the government is doing all these things. Wow, we had no idea. Thank you so much, Matt Owens. Never happened. There were people in my life who already agreed with these viewpoints and could already see the things that I could see, and they were agreeing with me. And then that's it. Not once in the last several years has anybody said, "Hey, tell me your thoughts on agriculture and how we're going down the tubes." Nobody ever asked my opinion on any of those things, and so I had to ask myself, like, why the hell am I doing this? There's a lot of control in that. I was trying to control people's awakening, trying to control people's eyes opening by showing them what I could see. But the truth is, like, when I was asleep, when I was unconscious years ago, my whole life, if one of my hippie friends had come and told me about about the toxins and poisons in our water and our food and all the deep state stuff, I would have said, you're fucking crazy, but thanks, but I'm not interested, because I didn't have the eyes to see. I wasn't ready for that information yet. My soul, my spirit wasn't ready for that yet. You awake when you awake is what I firmly believe. And so I had to stop planting these seeds of fear within my community. I've been listening to a new podcast by Theo Vaughn. Theo Vaughn is a stand-up comedian. Maybe you've heard of him. He's pretty famous, so I wouldn't surprise me if you've heard of him. But watch his stand-up. He's on Netflix and YouTube or whatever if you're interested in checking him out. His stand-up is funny, but I have to say his podcast is far superior because it's just him being himself, and he interviews a lot of people. Sometimes it'll just be other comedians, and they'll just be BSing about the comedy world, and other times it'll be more spiritual conversations. He had a very interesting childhood in poverty, and he's talks about that often, and he's just kind of an open book. And to be honest, he's really entertaining. He's one of the most chill people I've ever listened to, and he really inspired me to be more myself. As I'm podcasting, I like to listen to a lot of other podcasts for inspiration. I'm always just sort of taking mental notes as I'm listening to other podcasts for my own podcast, and I really like that he's just himself. And from what I understand, uh, it's one of the top podcasts in the U.S. But it's so casual and so chill, and there's often times where he can't think of anything to say to the guest, and it's very obvious, and it doesn't feel awkward because he's just being himself. He's just like, oh well, I don't know, I just kind of ran out of stuff to talk about. Like, what'd you do last night? Like, he just or he'll just say, well, I don't know, so yesterday I went to McDonald's, and like, he just it's like having a real conversation with somebody. And that's what I always am trying to strive in my own life, is being my true authentic self, is just, this is how I am. Right? I'm not going to edit out all of the ums or the awkward pauses. I had to go through that process in my own life of becoming my true self, my authentic self, and not being embarrassed of what other people thought of me, etc. Um, And so he just sort of further inspired me to just do whatever the hell I want, and the people that it resonate with are going to love it, and the people that don't like it aren't going to like it, and that's okay too. But he had a recent guest on, and they were getting into deep philosophical and spiritual conversations. And I don't remember who the guest was. Often, I listen to so many podcasts that they all kind of blend together, and I listen to the same guests across different podcasts too. And so it just sort of is a giant blender in my brain. But whoever it was, the wise soul that he was talking to, was talking about knowledge, gnosis, as the Gnostics like to say. And I'm often striving to gain more knowledge, gain more knowledge, gain more knowledge, right? And I'm just often frustrated that I can't accelerate that process. Sometimes I'll go into these deep rabbit holes where it's just, I'm a sponge and I'm soaking it all up, and I'm in learning mode. And then I sort of stall out and need to take a break. I can feel it within my system, just sort of that there's this imbalance of, okay, I'm studying too much, I dove a little too deep into that rabbit hole, time to reel it back for a couple days, maybe a week, take a break. um, but I'm frustrated that I can't just get more gnosis, because the Gnostics and many other philosophies, religions, and ancient cosmologies talk about this idea of enlightenment through knowledge, gaining these esoteric secrets and the ancient wisdom and stuff like that. And so I'm always just trying to dump as much of that as I can into my brain, and oftentimes my brain will overload. And what the guest said was that you're trying to fit this cosmic ocean of knowledge into a teacup, right? You're trying to fit all this cosmic esoteric wisdom into a human brain, and it's just not gonna work, right? It has a capacity while we're here in the physical realm. And so that sort of helped me to wrap my mind around it, and to gain acceptance that I always talk about, just accepting that, you know what, I'm not my teacup is full. My teacup is full. It's often overflowing, and so to accept that, while I'm here in this physical form, I'm the teacup, right? Short and stout, and to just accept that. To accept those limitations. There's the where I'm currently at with that, right? And can that change? I don't know. Perhaps there can be an expansion of that. Perhaps AI can be an expansion of that. Perhaps, a lot of things, right? I don't like to say things in absolutes, like this is the limit of my knowledge and capabilities, because I am limitless. I don't like to restrict myself with those types of words or concepts. I'm limitless. So as of today, I got a teacup. Maybe at some point I can expand it into a stein, and then maybe a bathtub. But like we're gonna expand. I'm trying to always expand how much knowledge I can dump into this sweet little brain of mine. Um, but I have to remind myself to take breaks too. That's what's so crucial about this is I have to remind myself to remain balanced. And I've been honed in on it, and focused on it so often these last few years, practicing knowing when I feel imbalanced and what to do about that. In fact, I'm feeling imbalanced right now. That's why I'm talking about it. I was going on a walk today, and I was just chatting it up with the universe, and I was saying, sup, bro. That's how I talk to the universe sometimes. And I'm like, sup, bro. Um, what's the deal? I'm feeling a little imbalanced. Do you suggest that I seek balance in X, Y, and Z areas in my life? Please send me a confirmation. As I'm taking my walk, I'm like, please send me a confirmation, send me a 666 as a way of showing me that I'm imbalanced, and a confirmation that I need to focus on that for the next few days or the next week or whatever. And sure enough, without fail, this won't come as a surprise to anybody of you that know me. The only car on the road was driving up towards me, and of course, its license plate said 666, and I just laughed out loud, because that's my life. This is how I feel like the universe, how the divine communicates with me, and perhaps communicates with you. That I start seeing these numbers everywhere, the 369s and the the 111s and the 666s even. I grew up Christian, and 666 was like, oh boy, we don't talk about that. That's a bad sign. But there is no good and bad. That's just a matter of perspective. So if you choose to view that as bad, then it is bad. But if you choose to view it as a symbol of imbalance, which I choose to, then it's just another method and way for the universe to communicate with me. It's not something that's meant to be feared. So I tipped my hat to the universe today, for confirming that I'm a little imbalanced this week. And for those of you that don't know, I've often struggled my entire adult life, really my entire life, with just an addictive personality, an addictive habit. This cycle that I find myself getting into, these cycles and these patterns of addiction. And I feel like I've been very successfully these last several years learning to just acceptance, just accept that, you know what, I like to drink alcohol sometimes, I like to smoke weed, I like to eat I like sugar, guys. I love sugar and coffee and a lot of carbohydrates. And so part of the process for me has been learning to not beat myself up when I fall into these patterns, because that's what I did my whole life, was beat myself up. You're a worthless piece of shit, you have no self-control, you're bad at this, blah, blah, blah. That's just Hal whipping up stories for me in my mind. And so I just dismiss Hal from the room and say, thank you for your service. Have a good day. And I tell myself that I am blameless, that there's nothing wrong with any of these things. I refuse to judge my actions. I refuse to judge the things that I do. And once I learn to love myself in that way, once I learn to stop with the judgments, um, the addiction started melting away, right? Because a lot of that was that guilt of, like, I need to quit, I need to quit, I need to quit. This pressure, this stress, this beating of myself up, the whipping of my own back, just like, oh, you idiot, you did it again. And so once I learned to slather a healthy amount of love all over that, it just sort of started dissolving in my own life. But the addictive cycles never disappear fully. That's part of this skills sharpening process. And so right now I'm in a period of imbalance. I've been just imbalanced in many ways, and I can feel it in my body, just with the things that I'm consuming, not just consuming through my mouth, but also consuming through my eyes and my ears, through social media. And we get into these habits and patterns and these addictive cycles, these routines that we get into every day. Wake up in the morning, pick up my cell phone, either play some stupid game, or get Wordle fired up, or the New York Times crossword, the mini every day. You guys playing that New York Times crossword mini game, or connections, or Wordle? Anybody? Shout out to y'all! Like, I love it. I play it daily. Um, so we get into these cycles and patterns of playing Wordle, and then getting up and making that pot of coffee, and then having that bowl of cereal, or and then opening up the computer, or going to take a, just these same things we do over and over and over and over again, and it becomes this unconscious actions on our part. And then once that happens long enough, I'll speak for myself, I tend to get into these patterns, and then I just thoughtlessly do them day in and day out, and then I look around and I suddenly find myself in a comfort zone. I find myself in a rut where there's nothing exciting happening in my life. There's no movement. There's no growth. It's just static. And I start to feel dissatisfaction with life. This is where I start to fall into these depressions, these dark times, where it's just stagnancy. And so that's when the universe shows me the 666 is like, hey, ding, 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 wake up. We got a pattern here. The universe often will play me a song. The song is from Elvis, like, you're caught in a trap, you can't walk out, and it just repeats over and over and again in my head as a reminder of, like, I'm caught in a trap and I can't walk out because I just love you too much, baby. And baby is Instagram. I call Instagram my baby. I just can't give up on my Instagram. I try and I try. We break up sometimes, but we always come back together. She's my girl. Um, but it's this imbalance, right? You can tell when I'm imbalanced on Instagram if you go and look at my stories. If I have more than 10 items posted on my stories, I'm caught in a trap. I can't walk out, right? That's me in a rut where I'm bored and I just reach for my phone and check Instagram, post something to my stories, post something to my stories, post something to my stories, over and over and over again, rather than just knowing what I need to do. This practice of just sitting with the uncomfortability of being bored. So many of us, are myself included, are not very comfortable being bored, sitting there staring off into the distance, not having music on, not having something to think about. It's very difficult to just sit quietly and be bored. And so whenever I feel like I'm not doing a good job at being bored, i.e., frantically checking Instagram every 30 seconds or, picking up my phone because I have nothing else to do and just endlessly scrolling or whatever, about putting it down and consciously being bored for a minute, 5 minutes, an hour, whatever works for me, right? Um, and that's what gets me back into balance, is recognizing these signs. And there's nothing inherently wrong with Instagram or social media or coffee or weed or sugar or fill in the blank. The problem is my attachment to these things. And so it's a constant game. It's a constant balancing game. And learning to recognize when I'm getting caught into these patterns, like, oh, here we go again. I've been here before. I know how to get out of it. I can always tell. This is the litmus test. This is how I can tell how far deep I am into a pattern or a groove or an addictive cycle. My litmus test is, can you fast for a day? How easy is it for you to fast for a day from all of it? And if it's quite simple, if I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great. I'm going to fast, right? Not have any coffee or sugar or carbs or social media or, maybe all of the above for a day or two. Even a day, 2 days is quite difficult. So let's just say a day, right? If I jump right on it and fast with no questions asked, then I'm not caught in a trap. I can drop it like it's hot at a moment's notice. Like, yeah, that's okay. I don't need caffeine today. That's fine. Yeah, I don't need social media today. I can put my phone down. Easy peasy. But then there are the other days when I can feel my higher self, when I can feel the universe tapping me on the shoulder saying, how about fasting tomorrow? How does that sound? And I'm like, nope. Nope, not interested. And then another day goes by and it's like, nope, not going to do it. Another day goes by, another week goes by, another month goes by, and then I just get more and more drained and I can feel it dragging me down, down, down. So that's my litmus test to tell how deep I am into one of these grooves, is, can I let it go for a day? And I've been getting that message for the last couple of weeks. So I'm kind of deep into this one, and that's why we're talking about it. And again, there's no shame in it. I would have been so embarrassed to talk about this shit several years ago. It's all just growth opportunities for me, right? To open myself up, to be vulnerable like this. I had to work really hard at this. So I'll just slap another gold star on there for myself, and pat myself on the back because nobody else will. Right? I got to love myself and I got to cheer myself on. I've come so far and I'm so proud of myself. And that's why we talk about these things, not to toot my own horn, but to say it works. These are the things that are working in my life. Yes, it was difficult. Yes, I had to roll up my sleeves and dive in to my heart spiritually and do the deep work. And it's an endless job, but it gets easier. That's why we're talking about it. Just about recognizing that you're in a trap, not beating yourself up for it, and just saying, you know what? I'm loving myself by eating a little bit too much ice cream today. Okay? I'm not going to beat myself up. It's okay. It's not going to become a regular thing. We're just going to accept it for what it is and not beat yourself up. And it's not a free pass to just, eat a gallon of ice cream and drown your sorrows into, a bottle or a joint or ice cream. Because not every day is going to be rainbows and sunshine. The yin and the yang of it is there's going to be dark times as well, where you're sobbing into a pint of ice cream. So shout out to Ben and Jerry's, right? Nothing wrong with little chunky monkey guys. That's all I'm saying. But these are some of the things that I've done in my own life to just help my own mental health, right? To just stop beating myself up so often. To just feel a little bit more free. I'm always talking about freedom. I'm always manifesting more freedom in my life. And the truth is, when I'm attached to, I used to smoke cigarettes as well. Like when I'm attached to cigarettes or alcohol or weed or food or sugar, when I'm attached to any of these things, there's going to be suffering. as the Buddhists say and the Eastern philosophies talk about, the Four Noble Truths. I dive in deeper about this if you want to check out that episode about the Four Noble Truths and the nature of suffering, according to the Buddha. We experience suffering when we attach to things in our life. These substances or social media or routines in our life. When I attach to these things in my own life, that's when I experience suffering, right? And it's contrary to what my mind, what Hal's telling me to do, is to let these things go. It's like, I don't want to let these things go. I love these things. I want more, 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 more. And then I just start getting sick because I'm over consuming whatever it is. And so it's about not listening to that voice in your head and reprogramming it to do the opposite, to let go of the very thing that you want to cling on to. And I find that when I do that, I feel so much better. I feel lighter. I feel more free. I feel healthier mentally, physically, spiritually, right? When I'm drinking every night, I don't feel healthy at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month. When I smoke weed every day, I don't feel good. I feel drained. I feel tired. I feel grumpy. I feel irritable. Too much sugar. My mood goes off the deep end. Too much carbs or whatever. I go off the deep end. It affects my mood. I feel like shit. I very rarely get sick. I've got a robust immune system, thanks to shout out to my ancestors and their Cro-Magnon DNA or whatever is keeping keeping this body afloat. But I believe that when you tell yourself you're healthy, you are generally healthier. And so I'm not afraid to get sick. I'm not afraid to catch a cold or a virus or any of that stuff. I just believe that I have a robust immune system. I keep telling myself that. And um, anyway, because of this imbalance in my life, because of it, the imbalance has been affecting my mood. The imbalance has been affecting my sleep, my attitude, my um, just general, wellness has been altered. And because of that, I got a cold, just a stupid cold virus, just a little cough. It's nothing that bad, right? But it's just been lingering and annoying. Um, but I'm telling you all of this because it's just an outward display of my own inner imbalance. That's what I believe these, disease or viruses or this illness comes along because we let fear and stress and worry and all of these things into our lives. And so I believe that's why I got the cold. And just been chugging a lot of water and a lot of those turmeric and pepper and ginger shots from the grocery store. So I feel I feel like my immune system is firing back up again. So I'm on team wellness. I'm coming back up. That's why I took a little hiatus from recording these because I just was feeling like garbage. But now that I recognize that I'm in a place of imbalance, just loving myself, and taking a little break from these things, right? During these times, I'll literally just delete Instagram or Twitter or whatever I'm using too much of, obsessing over. I'll just delete it because it's just, I got to break that cycle somehow. Um, and it can be little things too to mix things up a little bit to break yourself out of that routine. I go on a lot of walks every day and I find myself going on the same trails all the time. And so it just becomes a part of that routine, going on the same trail, going on the same trail, going on the same trail. And so I just mix it up. I'll go a different way. I'll go turn into a random neighborhood and just be aware, be conscious, be in the now, just looking at the different yards, the different houses, the architecture, the trees, the plants, the birds, just new places, new faces, new energies. And down a different neighborhood is a different energy than this neighborhood or this trail or that trail or whatever. Mixing up what you have for lunch every day, or maybe skipping lunch today, or just these are the things that I do for myself just to mix things up a little bit. And it helps to keep things fresh and not stagnant. And um I don't know, I just thought I like to let you copy my notes, as I say. These are just some of the things that work in my own life, that I found a lot of success with. So With that, I think we'll end it there. For I still have a little bit of a sore throat and it's starting to irritate me. So So basically, I'm done talking to y'all. Thank you again so much for joining me in these conversations. I'm planning another transmission with Nathan. If you enjoyed that one, check that out if you haven't heard it. I'm working on just reaching out to people and having these conversations with people about spirituality and things of an esoteric nature. And so he has some questions he wants to ask of me, and so we'll have a little Q&A type of a situation in the next transmission with Nathan. So look forward to that. And like I keep talking about, now that I'm feeling better, I'm going to dive back into the emerald tablets and hermeticism and things of that nature. So look forward to a more in-depth conversation about those things as I sort of ramp back up and get back into research mode. I've been on a little hiatus because I had to take a break, and now I'm revving back up again to start dive back into learning and teaching and talking about things like hermeticism. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all again for sharing my podcast, sharing me on YouTube and social media, and for everybody who's donated financially. I appreciate and love you all. And with that, end transmission.